Hello and welcome. My name is Jevgenij Rusakov and you're watching TVP World, interview from Vilnius. Now, when third countries are aggressively trying to achieve their imperialistic ambitions, the activities of the intelligence services against Lithuania and the EU are becoming more intense and particularly dangerous. To discuss these activities and methods of countering them, we are joined today by the Director of the State Security Department of Republic of Lithuania, Darius Jauniškis. Hello, Darius, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So let's first start with that crash plane that happened in Vilnius a week ago. Even though it seems this wasn't a terrorist act or hybrid attack, how should Lithuania in specific and Europe in general assess hybrid threats in future?
Of course, we have to take it very seriously. And just so recent events actually, the number of the, let's say, tries to arson some, for example, facilities, or just to even just how to say to try to assassinate certain personalities and so on. So it makes us, how to say, wake up at night, and it have to be like that because just what we see now, we see the very aggressive campaigns actually, which actually started with the defacement of the monuments actually, and gradually went to the very more serious actions. So we should be very cautious actually and very careful assessing that, how to say, doing the investigations as well. Of course, we cannot point the finger and say on every act on that, like that actually, to say that its attribution is directly to
most
Russia, something like that. But nevertheless, just definitely we see that activities of the Russian intelligence services and security services as well, and I mean the rhetorics in Kremlin, they are becoming very, very aggressive. So we should be very careful about that.
Don't you think that even by making a point about hybrid threats, so carried out by the unfriendly states, Russia or China, we are literally helping those unfriendly states, unfriendly countries, to sow panic amongst us?
We have to talk about that with our public because we're living in democracies, and our public, they have a right to know what is happening, and we cannot remain silent actually or pretend that nothing is happening. So we need to talk about that actually.
Okay.
And we talk the substance. So that's the most important thing.
Okay, but where is that golden, let's say, where is that golden middle where you don't sow panic, but you still, let's say, keep your citizens cautious at all times?
Yeah, I've just actually referred to the, let's say, the soberness and cautious of the Lithuanian
Society.
people actually, and societies actually, because they need to know just how to say to make sure that they understand that all these events are in the right way. So that's the most important thing. So therefore, they have to be informed actually. They have to know what is happening actually. Not in order to not with the aim to spread the panic, but to make understand what is happening for real actually, and that's the most important thing in democracy.
Let's talk now about those unfriendly activities that we started from. So, according to State Security Department, the organization that probably knows more about me than my mom does, so the activities of intelligence services of unfriendly countries, as I already said, against Lithuania and the EU in general, are becoming more and more intensive and particularly dangerous. So what should ordinary citizens know regarding this specific matter?
So first of all, they have to know the truth, actually. And second, they know how to behave in case of some emergency or something like that. And that's, it's a task of the state to explain, just on how to say, and it's the task of ours actually to explain the people how they should behave, how the reaction should be in case of attack or something like that. We have the crisis management center actually established next to the government actually. So they also doing this kind of like explanatory work and educational work, I would say, and many institutions does actually. So, and for, let's say, for the citizens as well, they should be, how to say, interested in actually in these activities. Everybody should know actually how to react, what to do, in case of emergency or something like that. So that also it depends on the individualities.
According to State Security Department, the intelligence services of foreign countries are also engaged in influence operations against Lithuania. So could you please maybe just share some examples on how it's done?
So influencing the operations, yeah, this is a kind of like the system which is actually including a lot of activities, I would say, and that's a lot of measures. So it's kind of like a influence. The aim of the influence operation is, how to say, to affect our thinking, just to bring the chaos, maybe, just to spread the distrust in the how to say, the governmental organizations and so on, and actually or influence, for example, the election process or something like that. So there is a lot of many tools to use. Actually.
Just a couple briefly.
Yeah. Okay, it's a social media as well, for example, and creation of some kind of like a narrative, of distorting the history, for example. Or or presenting their version of for example, the development of the Soviet Union or development of Russia, actually, and okay, they could be like a defacement of the monuments, which are very important for our, let's say, memory, for our proudness of the country and so on, and okay. Again, bribing some kind of journalists also, or preparing some kind of like a, let's say, call them journalists, but they are not real journalists, but they are just working for the, let's say, intelligence adversary. And they can, just how to say, come here, just do some kind of like like interviews or something like that, or creating some kind of like a narratives
malicious
malicious activities as well, and spreading all this news in order, how to say, to affect, to brainwash the population society. And so on.
There's another question then. What role do citizens of Russia and Belarus play in this regard, and how much of a threat are they to Lithuania and the rest of the EU?
Yeah, that's a good example. Is just that it was recently arrested a couple of men who had a dual citizenship, Russian, for example, or German, or Russian and Estonian, or Russian or something like that. So that's they were actually recruited to do some kind of like those hybrid activities. Let's call it hybrid. Yeah, I don't like that word, but.
By the way, why don't you like this word?
Because it's not describing in the correct way all these activities. I would call that irregular warfare, for example, or other, or sabotage actions as well. So they were recruited to do some kind of like sabotage actions as well by the Russian intelligence services. And again, that's just like an example, how the people who has a dual citizenship. Just they are, how to say, recruited to do some certain bad things, actually, in order to influence the country's life.
Darius, how about Lithuanians that, and we definitely got some of those that do not support Ukraine and maybe support Russia. What's with those? Those are citizens of our country. How should we manage things with them?
I think, the only thing what we can do is try to reason with them, just and how to say, to clarify and to ask why they're behaving like that. And you see, as I told, we live in democracy, and everybody has, the right to spread the news or to have his opinion, just and just how to say, reflect that in their, let's say, all possible channels and so on. Unless it's not, how to say, crossing some certain lines, when this activities is becoming very dangerous for the state. So before that, everybody has the right, just to think, what he wants to, how he wants to think as well. But the problem is that probably that in social media now, actually, there are so many information, so much information about everything, and actually, if you are, for example, clicking on some certain article with a certain name, which is, for example, enough to click the Putin or something like that. So artificial intelligence or engines of artificial intelligence just catching that generates,
generates the whole stuff.
And just collecting that big number of the different articles about that topic, for example. And they are just, how to say, just pushing you into your brains, actually.
Okay.
And you're thinking in that. And that is the biggest problem. If your mindset is a little bit tended to how to say, to believe the Russian propaganda or something like that, so you're just getting so much, the big flow of information about that. And if you are just, how to say, going into it, it's becoming a problem, actually. You're reading article by article, and you're becoming like I would say the Zauer, SpongeBob or something like that, actually, and you just, how do you say, you are not able to control all this actually information which is pushed into your head.
It just flows. Yeah, I do understand you. Okay, so okay, you've mentioned social media, which definitely plays a big role in our today's life. So how actively do unfriendly countries use that social media, and how not to become a so-called useful idiot? What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's. I would say yes. The social media is very, very widely used by our adversaries. That's real true. And actually, if you going into social media, you can find, again, as I talked before, according to your interests, you can find whatever article, whatever videos or something like that, what you need actually. And it used very, 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 I would say, very actively, and I would say in some cases very effectively. And there are, there are many institutes actually in Russia who are working on that, especially talking about the intelligence services, which actually they have a number of people who specifically working on the creation of some like a misleading stories, misleading narratives, actually, distortion of the history, and so on, just creating the different movies, different, actually, how to say, speaking with the different people, actually, who are also they are influencers or something like that, creating the stories. I think one of the interesting story was, you remember the MH17 crash in Ukraine, actually.
Okay.
And what we've seen at that time, actually, it was number of different stories blaming the West, the Ukrainians, and everything, and creating some kind of like their version, actually. But in fact, we know who did that, actually. And it's already proved. And it was like a criminal investigation, that they have all the proof that it was done by the Russian side. But actually, but creating by the Russian side, actually creating all these movies and so on, you actually do aiming to create the chaos in the mindset of the people. And actually, and you're misleading, because they are influential, and they are very cheap to produce, actually, which is also very important.
Okay, Darius, what would be the advice of the director of the State Security Department of Republic of Lithuania to citizens of not only Lithuania, but let's say Europe and the whole world, regarding all those threats that literally are waiting us just around the corner?
Yeah, first of all, I think, be cautious, be vigilant, how to say, understand very well what is happening around you, be selective while you are just reading the, different articles and different media and social media as well, actually, and be resistant to some kind of like a, sorry for that word, bullshit, which is actually spread by the Russian propaganda as well, actually. And if you see something suspicious, just please report to the VSD. We are always ready, to talk with any citizen, with any man, actually, who is or woman who is coming and reporting on some suspicious activities.
Okay, stay safe, kids. Darius, thank you so much for joining us today, and I really hope to see you once again. Thank you. And I would like to remind our viewers that our guest for today was the director of the State Security Department of Republic of Lithuania, Darius Jauniškis. You're watching TVP World. Stay with us.